Good Friday morning, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Finding God in the Dark podcast. I'm Don,
And I'm Jonathan.
and today we are talking about this did come out this year, right?
Yep.
2025 film, 28 years later, which is the third film in the, I don't know, the 28 series, but it's only the second one by the original guy, Danny Boyle.
Yeah, and the original writer as well, I think.
Yeah, the original writer, the original director. And he sort of Danny Boyle sort of disavows the second film 28 weeks later.
Yeah.
So, um, it is basically, I mean, it's a post-apocalyptic horror.
Yeah.
We don't refer to the mindless killing machine human beings as zombies. They are the infected. They have in 28 years sort of evolved a little bit.
Mhm.
There's some sort of social hierarchy in this culture, so to speak.
And the rage virus does different things to different people it infects.
Right. Right. So, I mean, basically the story follows a group of survivors who are like kind of connected to
Yes.
mainland England,
Yep.
on an isolated island that they can get to mainland on a causeway at low tide,
Yeah.
um, and how well it kind of follows one father and son.
Yeah. One family, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one family. Yeah, and really the main character is the son who is 12. I think we said
Yeah.
he's
12
12
in
years
the
old
movie.
at the time.
I don't know how old he is in actuality. He's a very
Yeah.
good actor. I was really impressed.
Oh yeah, I thought the kid was great. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I initial reaction for me, okay. Um, I like horror movies.
Yeah.
I'm used to horror movies. I'm used to a certain amount of, gore and whatever. This seemed to me, and I mentioned this, and Jonathan and I will converse about the film before we film and before we, we'll send messages and stuff. This felt like Danny Boyle was trying to make an art house zombie movie. I mean, it felt weird to me.
Mm.
And then you brought up a really good point, which is it's not traditionally like a zombie film so
Yeah.
much in that there's not a whole lot of that. There's not
No.
a whole lot of the zombie stuff. It
Yeah.
is certainly a post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
horror-ish film,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not. And you wrote something else that when I said I thought it was weird, you said you felt like Danny Boyle definitely wasn't interested in the typical violence and gore of most zombie movies. You thought that he made a weird choice ending with a certain group, which we'll get to, I think.
Yeah.
Um, that just leaving it, and I agree with this 100%. If he had just left it with the kid and the end and what his actions were,
Yeah.
and left that open-ended to another film,
Well,
it would have been better.
again, spoiler alerts.
Right.
Spoiler
Spoiler
alerts.
alert for sure.
There's going to be three movies in this new series. The first one is called the Bone Temple, which may allude to a place we end up at in the
Right.
movie. It may be somewhere else. Who knows? Um, but I really thought that those last couple scenes with, again, spoiler alert, the death of Spike's mom, his placing of her skull
Hmm.
on the basically it's basically a cathedral of bones that this gentleman
Right.
has created to help
He
people
called it he
remember,
called it the memento mori.
yeah,
Yeah.
to remember the reality of death and to also remember those who have lived, right? That's the
Right.
idea.
Right.
Um, but I felt like that was a very powerful scene. Her saying goodbye, her death scene, his placing the skull on the top of this grand kind of tower, really.
Which is
Um,
on the cover of the DVD
yeah,
if
yeah.
you've seen it or if you've
It's
seen
actually
the.
not that much of a spoiler
Yeah, it's
about.
not really.
Um, and then he drops off a baby that they have found on the way,
Hmm.
and he goes back to his island home, leaves the baby there, but wants to go pursue kind of work out things in his own mind about what his father was cheating on his mother, and he finds out about it. He kind of distances himself from his father, and he
Right.
clearly wants to like figure all this out and work that out. And
Be
I
his
thought
own
that
man.
was, and then you have him kind of go off, and you see him on the road. I felt like that was a perfect place to end.
It should have stopped there. You're right. Should have
Because I
stopped there.
thought I thought that last 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes was extremely effective, maybe the best part of the movie. You know,
Hmm.
his father running out and trying to catch him, but the waves have already come back and he can't leave the island. And
Right.
I just thought it was really effective. And I'm just like, why did you end this the way you ended it? Um, but yeah, to me, it's really a movie about, I mentioned it. To me, this is just Danny Boyle's kind of deep reflection on the hero's journey, because that's basically what Spike's on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's he's becoming a man. He's facing a great evil that he must triumph over. He's facing death. He's facing kind of all the weighty things of life. And I thought in that way it was really a good movie. It was just weird because it wasn't a zombie movie. The
Yeah.
zombies were just kind of the zombies were kind of like just garnish on the plate.
They're the machination. They're the the plague or the whatever it is. They're just the
Yeah,
reason that we're in a post-apocalyptic era, right?
yeah.
You
They were
you
the
mentioned the
They
hero's
really
journey.
they kind of functioned as a MacGuffin, was just kind of weird. It was kind of like this is why we're doing all this, you know.
Yeah, a little
Um,
bit. Yeah. You mentioned hero's journey. I don't see. I can't hear hero's journey without bringing up the name of Joseph Campbell.
yeah, that's
um,
fine. That's
because it's
yeah,
that's Joseph Campbell is so influential in so much of the storytelling that we do
yeah,
nowadays, and
yeah,
his idea of the hero's journey. It was what
yeah,
George Lucas based Star Wars on,
yeah,
for instance.
yeah.
And so, folks, if you haven't read Joseph Campbell, oh,
Yeah.
please do. Please do, because yeah, it's well worth it. Well worth it. And he goes all the way back to the Epic of Gilgamesh and the biblical stories and how
Yeah,
it all of it relate to the hero's journey.
yeah.
So it's like our entire
Canon.
storytelling existence
Yeah,
is the hero's journey.
it's a major plot device in human story or any culture you're talking about.
Truly, truly. Um, So yeah, there is that. I think that stuck out to me like it did to you. That
Yeah,
definitely the hero's journey, particularly with Spike, the
yeah,
12-year-old, the boy.
mhm,
Um, and yeah, I don't think I could agree more that he should have just ended it there.
mhm.
And then even if he was going to bring in this, all right, again, spoiler alert, folks, if he's going to bring in this group of people who are living on the island on the mainland of England,
Yeah,
who are these super zombie hunters, he could have done that at the beginning of the next film.
yeah.
He didn't have to stick it at the end of this one. I think that's a more than fair critique.
Well, to me, what was weird about it was it wasn't that this group that the leader of the group you get introduced to as a child at the beginning of the movie. Um, and it wouldn't have been weird or as weird for me if it just was a group of, that he runs into, and then you kind of realize that's going to be the start of the next movie. But they literally were so cartoonishly skilled. Like they were doing leaps and moves that human beings literally can't do.
It was like in a Japanese it was like Dragon Ball Z or something.
Yeah, you're right. It literally looked like anime, and it's just like, it's like, what are you doing?
I'm not considering the vibe of the entire film up to that point.
Yes,
I'm not with that. I don't get that part, at
yeah.
the
It's
end.
it's it's almost like he went like, "Hey, Guy Ritchie, finish this movie for me." Like it's just like what? Okay.
That's a distinct pot. Who knows? They could have done that. I
Um,
don't know.
yeah, actually like this movie, but I had to release the fact that it wasn't a zombie movie. Like it just wasn't a zombie movie.
Yeah, it is. Um, it's a. it's a survival film, I think, more
Yeah,
than anything else.
yeah.
And that's okay. I
Mhm.
think if you come into it expecting a zombie movie, you'd probably be a little disappointed. Because there's not a whole lot of that. There's some, and again, we keep saying zombie and we have to,
Yeah, infected.
smack ourselves on the hand, the
Although
infected.
the soldier did say zombie in this film, so
Yes, he did. Yeah.
so I feel vindicated on some level. Uh,
Yeah. So, what else do you want to talk about here? Because this isn't as weird as I felt it was. There was definitely some interesting storylines throughout. You mentioned the soldier.
yeah,
There was a group of soldiers. They were from Sweden, I
Sweden.
think you
Yeah,
said. Yeah. And we encounter just one of them as a survivor.
yeah.
We see
We
the
see the
group
rest of
kind
them
of,
get killed.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. To me, one of the most fascinating parts of this trilogy that he's created, and now I guess six movies that he's going to be a part of,
Mhm.
is a part that we'll probably never get a lot of dwelling on. But to me, it's the fascinating part, which is he's chosen to construct this world in which the world's basically just abandoned Great Britain, and they've just gone, yeah, this is your problem, deal with it. Like, and so the Swedish soldiers are part of obviously a UN group that takes turn monitoring the island to make sure nobody gets off. And they wreck their boat by accident, and they have to get in lifeboats and get to England. But what's interesting is um, the soldier makes it very clear. Oh, if even though we are have crashed here, no one's going to come pick us up because once we're here, we're just forgotten about. And I don't know about you, but it bothered me in the first movie that the world would kind of just let anybody just hang with this. But it really bothers me that 28 years later, he envisions this world where people are just like going about their thing. They're on their iPhones. They're buying stuff on Amazon, and there's this whole island of people that live in hell, and we just kind of wave to them, like
Yeah, you all just stay over there, right? We talk. I mean, look, we're in a place right now in our country where there's such a political divide,
yeah,
right? And people siloing up, and I mean, this film points that out in a very vivid way.
yeah,
That you if you land on the mainland of England,
yeah,
you are persona non grata. You are
yeah,
never coming back. You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's an interesting point. Because are we heading that way in our own society? You know?
Yeah, it does make you wonder. I mean, we do that to some degree. There are pockets of places in the world where we have, for one time or another, kind of just turned a blind eye to, and that's I think what he's kind of examining. Whether it be places like Somalia or Gaza or places that horrible things are happening, and we have a tendency to just kind of wall that off.
Right.
And I that is definitely part of human nature, but I guess there's a part of me that's just frustrated by the idea of why would we choose to do that for 3 decades? Why would we, why as human beings would we go like, yeah, we're just going to leave those people to die. That's okay. Uh,
That's not a place we're going to go. It's not a place we're going to worry about.
yeah.
It is, it's dead.
And it doesn't even seem like they get help from like it's not like they get pallets of food sent to them or it doesn't appear like they get any kind of assistance at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess, we'll find out how who was it, Jimmy's group,
Yeah.
the group that we find at the end, how that group is surviving on the mainland, considering that Spike's group was sort of isolated on an island that was just connected by a causeway, right?
Yeah.
They were able to kind of wall themselves off from the mainland and the infected,
Yeah.
whereas Jimmy's on the mainland. So I guess we'll find that in the next film how that
Yeah.
worked out, right?
I'm wondering if they're moving us back slowly to London because that's where the series started. It'd be interesting to know if that's what's going to happen. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. I don't
maybe
know.
maybe the original characters from the original movie will pop up. Who knows? Uh, um, let me ask you because
Possible.
we're both pastors. I've never kind of explored this with another pastor, but when there is a totally psycho pastor or priest, do you go like, oh man, why? Why do? Did you have that reaction when the
When you
beginning?
mean at the beginning of the film?
Yeah, where Jimmy's father is clearly psychotic and he's like grateful that this is happening and he's assuming it's Judgment Day and like he lets his family get destroyed, he lets almost Jimmy die, he lets himself be eaten. Like, do you ever like when you just see a really bad clergy person, you just go like, oh, why couldn't it be a banker or why couldn't it be like someone?
Every single time, man. Every single time. Not just in movies, in TV. For some reason, and I mean, I don't know who to blame for this. I don't necessarily know that there needs to be blame set, but it seems that every single time there is clergy portrayed in a television show or a movie or something, they are either evil, satanic, or they are some kind of buffoon and made fun of.
Yeah,
There's
I
never
yeah.
like a normal, serious pastor. The closest, this is okay, this is as weird as it gets. The closest I think it's come, in modern day at least, is if you look at the AMC TV show Preacher.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, that character, um, he's he's a little bit off,
Yeah.
you know, but he's at least like works out of common sense. And I mean, it's a if you're familiar with Constantine, Constantine was like a supernatural comic in DC,
Yeah.
was made into a movie starring Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Um, Preacher is a spin-off of Constantine in the comic books.
Okay.
So it's in that same sort of demonic supernatural world.
Sure.
So he's dealing with a lot of that sort of stuff in the TV show.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes from that direction. But at least the guy comes off as sort of proto-normal, you know. Whereas,
I feel like 19 times out of 20, it's the priest or pastor is not just even incompetent, they're downright evil or insane.
yes,
You know.
yes.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And this, okay, I'm going to say it. This is the kind of thing that perpetuates all of the pushback that even you and I, as Methodist pastors, get
Yeah.
for the things that have been done by Catholic priests or, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, immediately somebody is kind of oh, you're clergy, come on. You don't even know me to like just cast that sort of aspersions at me just because I'm clergy.
Well, I think what is I don't know disappointing to me, I guess, is yes, there are downright despicable human beings that are members of the clergy. Absolutely, there
Even
are.
our denomination, and,
Yeah,
and
every
yeah,
denomination
yeah,
has issues around sexual abuse, has issues around
yep,
um, just abuse in general,
without doubt.
or a lot of times power dynamics that are improperly used. But
Hmm.
I do honestly think the vast majority of pastors and the vast majority of priests are people that literally do want to make the world better and do want to help people and do want to help people have a relationship with God and want to strengthen their communities. And I guess I just wish every once in a while a little bit more they were thrown in as,
Yeah.
to me, the Walking Dead's a good example of a character arc with a pastor where they have him become kind of the a central leader in the church. He starts off really rocky, no question about that.
Oh yeah. In
But he
fact,
does,
when he was first introduced, I don't remember
yeah,
what season it was, but I
yeah.
thought, he ain't gonna last long. He's gonna get eight.
But at the end of the show, the last few years, he is a very good character
Right.
and a very kind of pillar of that community, and that was nice to see. But there's just a part of me that's just like, really, do we have to have the psycho Anglican priest? Really? Does it have to be like,
And I want to, I sometimes I just want to tell folks, like, because there's always seems to be this, um, I don't know, unspoken feeling with people that, clergy go into you went into the clergy field because, because it pays so well, or because you only work one day a week, or because, can I tell you folks? No.
no,
Look,
yeah,
if I had if I had a choice, of course you always have a choice, but if I had, like if it were up to me, if my calling were up to me,
yeah,
okay, I'd have been a stand-up comic making millions of dollars, you know.
yeah,
I wouldn't be standing up preaching every Sunday morning
yeah,
and, you know, and scraping by.
yeah, yeah,
you know um I mean, I'm really blessed because my wife gets paid better than I do, you
yeah.
know. So
That's usually the case. I think that's what most people don't realize is most pastors do not get jets and absorbent salaries and
let me tell you, we in the UMC, and you know this, in the UMC we are required, as to be ordained, we're required to have a master's of
yeah,
divinity.
yeah,
And we are literally, this is not a joke or exaggeration, we are the lowest paid master's degree program
yeah,
in the country.
yeah. In
Every
terms,
other person who has a
yeah,
master's degree makes
makes sense.
more than clergy do.
On average, someone with a master's degree in the secular world will make more money than the average clergy person does. Yes.
Yes. So, we ain't going into it for the money.
No.
We ain't going into it for the leisure, because trust me, we're never not on call. Uh,
No.
you know, and if we're doing it, we're doing it because we love the people.
Yeah.
We love we love to be with the people. Look, my weekend coming up is a perfect example. Okay. I have um, the fall festival. I serve two churches. Okay. So in the church where I'm at today, in town, we have a fall festival on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be set up and sitting out there in a prayer tent all day long. And then Sunday, I have church at both services, or services at both churches. Duh. Um, and then we have a community picnic at the other church Sunday afternoon, where we're, just inviting people to come out and, meet folks from the church and having a pie contest and things like that. That is my whole weekend,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, folks say, well, you only work one day a week. No, no,
No. No.
trust me. If anything, I work more than you do. Not you, John. You know what I mean.
I get you. Do you think it's interesting? That was kind of whiplash for me because you had this psychotic priest, and then about 5 minutes later, he brings out "Abide with Me" again, and the kids are singing it, and
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, like, so is religion a good thing or a bad thing? Like, how do we, you know,
I think I think if the writer director Danny Boyle, if he's making any statement there, I think he's making a very um, well. I think it's something that you and I can probably resonate with. That in that there's a lot of ambivalency, right?
yeah,
There's a lot of like, look, I know, I know because of my Christian faith that the church is a good thing. I know that my faith is a good thing. I also know that, as we've already stated, it's been abused,
yeah,
and people have, taken advantage of the position of power of being a clergy person. They have taken advantage of people's trust, and on and on. I mean, there's so much we could say about that,
yeah,
and we've certainly seen a lot of it in our own experience, in our own denomination, in our own conference. I don't want to discount that sort of stuff, but I have to, like you said previously. I believe that the overwhelming majority of pastors are just trying to do the best job they can for the people that have been placed in their care,
Yeah,
you know? Um, and that's where I find myself, like, look, I'm no saint, you know, I have my moments.
yeah,
I'm not going to talk about them online,
no, don't.
but, but, but that's reality. I mean, we're called as fallen, broken human beings to try to do our best to represent God and God's grace
Yeah.
for the people placed in our care. But yeah, I think that's where he's at. I think for Danny Boyle, it's a matter of it's a both end. Like yes, it's a blessing, and it's also sometimes it's not, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. The one of the scenes that I was also curious to talk to you about was the kind of the myth making scene. That's celebration after Spike and his father get back from the mainland,
Hmm.
and they've escaped the Alpha, and his father. It's clearly a ritual that the community has created after I'm guessing a boy, but maybe a girl too, goes off to the mainland, comes back. There's a huge celebration, and they are clearly talked up. And Spike is like, this isn't true. Like he's like his dad's talking about all the heroic things Spike did, and Spike's like, I almost lost my mind, and I and I missed like several zombies, and we almost died. And what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me because so much of our culture, so much of our how humans are, is we create these myths, and sometimes we don't take the time to actually go, what's true and what's a myth, you know, and we can lose ourselves in the myth so much that we kind of risk the safety of ourselves and others because we don't won't deal with the truth of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's an interesting scene, and it does. You know, let's be honest. If Dad were honest in
Yeah,
that scene, right? Spike still comes off as a, you know,
yeah,
pretty strong kid,
yeah,
you know? So what is the point of, embellishing the story? What's the
yeah,
point of making it bigger than he is? You're not making him any greater in the eyes of the people around you. You're not making him any greater in his own eyes. He knows what he did.
yeah,
Um, it aren't we all there sometimes? Aren't
yeah.
we all in that place where, well, I tell my boys this a lot, like if my two boys are in a fight, my two boys fight, all right, what's your story?
Soccer.
And what's your story? Okay, because I know that I got this story and I got this story, and the actual facts are probably somewhere in here in the middle. You know what I mean? So, and that's what it is. I would imagine in that same vein, if Spike had told the story, he would have downplayed his
Yes.
own accomplishments,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so, what's the actual story? What we saw on film,
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
And I think, we can. Gosh, can we apply this to our current lives
Sure.
and realize that, sometimes like I've only got one side of the story,
Yeah.
and what's the other side of the story? And, once I have both sides of the story, then what's real is probably somewhere in between those two.
And being willing to hear the truth behind the myths of our lives, whether that be the American story or that be your family's story, to be willing to say, okay, this story that I always have grown up on, maybe there's depth to it, maybe there's dark places to it. It might be worthwhile for me to set with it and explore those dark sides and that depth to get at a richer understanding of actually where I come from.
That's interesting you mentioned that because there's a story that had been, popular in my family on my dad's side. Maybe I've mentioned this before that my great great grandfather was a drummer boy for the Philadelphia 72nd Zouaves in the Civil War.
Okay.
And the story was he was shot in the leg. Now
Yeah.
he's a drummer boy, right? But he was shot in the leg um, at the Battle of Antietam,
Yeah.
and he overheard them saying they were going to amputate his leg, and he left the hospital, and he went down to the creek, and it was like February or something, and he laid his leg in the creek until it was numb, and he carved the bullet out of his own leg with his penknife, and he passed out. And that my grandmother was able to put her finger in the hole in his leg
Yeah,
when he was an old man.
yeah,
um, so we went to Antietam one time and we looked up the battle records and we looked up his name. And there were two people by his name that were at that battle.
yeah.
One died and the other was a deserter. Uh, so, we went, okay, so which was he?
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah,
die, so
yeah, yeah.
you know yeah, that's exactly like on point for that. It's really interesting. Look, there's so many points here that we did not get to.
Yeah.
um
The one thing I did think, I thought the
yeah,
strongest part of the movie was the should have been ending. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it.
yeah. Well, and all of that, I think there's a lot at that end of the film,
Yeah,
once they encounter the doctor,
yeah,
and all that goes with that really talks about um grief
yeah,
and loss.
yeah.
And it's powerful stuff,
Yeah,
right?
I like the fact that they meshed the two Latin phrases together, and I'm not going to try to butcher them, but the idea of remember we must die, but also remember we must live, love. And
Yeah,
I love that idea that you need to face your death, but you also need to realize that life is about loving. And I do think that's an important thing for all people, but especially Christians to reflect on.
yeah. And this film could have left it there, and that's where we're going to leave it.
They should have left it, yes.
So let's talk about what we're going to watch next week. I think we've already picked a film.
Yes,
Yeah.
HBO Max Friendship. It's a supposedly I haven't seen it. It's an awkward comedy about male friendship, and I figured it sounds like that should be
So
something we actually review.
sounds like it's on point for us, huh?
Yes.
All right. So then for next week we will watch the film Friendship. It is on HBO Max. I was actually before I settled on a different film, I was actually searching around on the premium services, see what I had, and I saw it on there. And I didn't watch it last night yet, but so today is this today Friday
Yeah.
is September 20.
26, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the day that will come out is October 3rd.
Yeah, I think it's already out. I could
Yeah,
be
no,
wrong.
no, no. I mean that the podcast that we will record
Oh
to
yes.
discuss that comes out on
Yeah.
October 3rd. I'm going to ask those of you who watch our podcast on a regular basis to keep me in prayer.
Mhm.
I am having it's a minor procedure, it's an outpatient procedure, but it is that morning, so we're going to record the day or two prior, and then that day, Friday morning, October 3rd, I'm having a procedure. So keep me in prayer for that. I would appreciate that. And till then, next week's film is Friendship. And until next week, we will see you all. Keep finding God in the dark. Take care and God bless.
Bye.
Oh, hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support. And friends, if you find anything that's really wonderful or entertaining or helpful in your Christian walk, we want to encourage you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends. We publish every Friday morning at 10 a.m. And we hope that you continue to find these videos and these discussions entertaining and informative. Take care and God bless. Bye.